Welcome to the Alliance for Healthy Homes and Communities presentation of June Holley presenting in Minneapolis to a small workshop. We recorded the session, and while the recording is not the greatest quality, we will at least hear June's comments and intersperse them with her PowerPoint presentation. This is part 1, Why Networks.
Okay, so we're going to start right at the beginning. Why networks? You know, a lot of people are talking about networks. Most of you feel like you know something about networks. We're going to try to dig in a little deeper today. So one reason for networks, how many of you ever feel like this? You know, your work burden, oh my gosh, if I've got one more thing to do, or your to-do list like this. This is a good reason why networks, because you need more people involved. Or if you try to convene people, do they all fall asleep? You can't see that one too well. Maybe you can. Okay, great. Okay. So to me, the big thing is, like, how do we, instead of bringing people all around the table and talk, and you say, that was a waste of time, how can we move networks to action in a way that doesn't require you to do more work? We don't want to add anything to that big burden. So that's what we're going to try to play around with today. Okay, for this to work, you got to understand about termites. Okay? Termites, they're all over the world, and they make these things called termite castles. Every termite castle looks different. It's perfectly situated for the space it's in. And they are the best air conditioners that have ever been invented. We are not anywhere near having an air conditioner as good as these go down often 30 feet down into the ground and are just bringing up cooling air, because lots of times termites are in really hot climates. But the interesting thing about termites is there's no boss. Nobody's telling those termites what to do. And it's not just instinct either. There are just every termite is taking initiative. And what it's doing is digging, and things get cooler. Then what does it do? Instead of calling the meeting, there's no meeting. It's communicating with little pheromones that send out signals, and other little termites come, and they work collaboratively as long as it keeps getting cooler. Once it starts getting hotter, they change. They stop doing it. They're smart. They stop doing what doesn't work. Something that we can learn from. Yeah. And there are no plans. They are not planning. They don't have to pay architects fees and build plans for these. They're just experimenting all the time and noticing. And I think this thing about noticing, and if anything I could urge you is, like, do less. Get things off your to-do list and spend more time noticing what's really working and doing more of that. So this self-organizing, we're just learning a really lot of how to apply this to human beings, but it's all over the natural world. And so when I've broken it down into these 3 little simple steps, okay? First, you have to know your network. You have to start seeing the networks that are around you. They're all around you. Networks are about relationships. You've got all kinds of relationships. And we're going to do a little mapping so that we can see how you can know the net. The next one is knit the net, and that just means, how do you connect people? Not just like you're at a business conference and, here's my business card, but no, strategically, so that it's really going to make a difference. And then the last one, and I am sorry for the K there, but catalyze action. And so it's not about you doing, but you changing your role to catalyze others to do. If you can make that shift, you can get so much energy for things that you're doing. There's always a network out there, because the way we're defining network is like the way sociologists do. Networks about relationships and the patterns. It's not about what I call the big N network, like your alliance is maybe more formal network with membership and stuff. So we're just talking about relationships now. And I'll explain a little bit more. We'll define a little bit more. Okay, so this was the Bar Foundation. They're in yellow. They're Boston Foundation. And they wanted to bring together the environmental folks with people who were interested in housing. And you can see, I think you can see, but can you read the colors there, hon?
Environment, red
And health. Red is health. That's what it was, health. And then blue is government. And so they did a map, and there's software that Downey's been playing around with to map. She can now map, has done some fabulous work mapping networks. And so there's ways that you can map the network for more complex ones. That's a really nice thing. But what do you notice about this network? These little guys, each line, okay, each one of these is a person, and then the lines represent their relationships. The heavier the line, the stronger the relationship. And the ones out there mean they don't have any relationships with any of these people, right? So there's a lot of what we call isolates. So, and then what else do you notice about this? The red ones, maybe I'll try this little. How does this little, nah, I can't. I know there's a laser thing on here, but
they're all in that part.
they're all in this part, and then all the green folks are over here, and like the blue government, mostly not connected. So then what they did is they used this, and they said, okay, there are a couple network leaders, and they said, okay, we're going to identify like some of the most influential and important other people out there in the isolates, and they picked them, and then what they did was they thought, okay, they went and talked and listened to that person, found out what they were interested in, and then they found somebody down in what we call the core that had a similar interest and brought them together. We call this closing triangles. It's like the simplest thing you could do, and it makes your network just a lot better. Get people, so you're strategic. You're thinking, you're not just connecting people randomly, but connecting people who connect on their similarities, but benefit from their differences. Okay? And then those little, what I call twosies, you bring two people together interested in something, that's a twosie. It's like the forgotten part of networks. It's like you want to do everything really big. But I've learned you start with these twosies and get people to know each other, and then they build a little trust. They know, I can't count on you to be on time, but boy, are you creative. So I'm going to, bring you on. I need somebody creative. Little nuances. So what they did is they connected those people to people in here, and each one of them started an action group on a specific aspect of, environment and health. Like one worked on lead issues or whatever, and another one's working on weatherization. Okay, so they form, because how do people really learn about each other? From working together. And so action groups, what happens after you have those action groups? Look at, what's the network like now? Are there any isolates? No, this is actually, well, this should be an arrow there. It prints out for somebody. So there's really, in that person, they have thin lines, if you can see. So everybody's connected now, and they're a little bit more mixed up. There's still, some clustering, you expect that, but everybody's only a couple steps away from each other. And so now they know pretty much who's interested in what, and they can, so what we're going to do now is a mapping activity. You can either use, I think, Yanni's going to divide us up into teams.